It's very early. I probably look like hell under this light, but it's iPhone day and we're gonna have to get in line. I'll explain. Let's ramble.
Hold up, place go wild when I pull up. They all on me like it once.
Alright, so it's a bit brighter now. The sun just came up. Very quickly, the reason why we're even in this car to pick up my iPhone 15 Pro Max is the fact that, again, and this happens to me every year, I couldn't get through on the Apple website. Thankfully, there's another store here. It's called Coolblue, not a sponsor. They are also a licensee, I guess, so they get to release the iPhone 15 at the exact same time Apple does, and they can also sell it at the exact same day Apple does, which is today, Friday. I opted for in-store pickup, and I'm gonna get there as early as I can. I don't know if there's gonna be any lines or anything like that, but I don't need the risk. Okay, I'm recovering from a little heart attack. This girl came outside to take our names and we were asked to come in to pick up her iPhone. Everything fine, nothing out of the ordinary. I gave him my order number. The guy goes to the back to get my phone. But it was taking a long time and I was getting a little worried. The guy comes back and he tells me, well, we don't have your phone. So I'm like, what do you mean you don't have my phone? And he goes, well, Apple didn't send us enough devices. So I'm like, well, I paid for it and I got a message to come pick it up, so I'm here to pick it up. And I was getting a little agitated. It was very much a computer says no situation. So I decided to go full Karen and I actually asked for the manager, which I don't normally do, trust me. So the manager comes and basically tells me the same thing. I'm telling him it's not acceptable, every day counts, and if I get it in a couple of weeks, nobody cares anymore, but there's nothing he can do. So I ask him, what can we do? Do you have any other models? Can you call different stores? There must be a solution. So he goes in the back and he comes back to me and he says, well, there is actually one solution. We have two iPhone 15 Pro Maxes in a box that are not assigned to somebody else, except it's the 512 gigabyte version. Now, if you happen to follow me on Twitter, you know that I actually wanted the 512, but I could only get the 256 at the time of ordering. So I ended up with the model that I actually wanted. The only difference is it's a blue one. I went for the natural titanium originally, but at this point, I really don't care. Anyway, let's get to the studio and unbox this thing. Okay, so we got the iPhone Pro Max in blue titanium, not natural titanium, and honestly, I don't really care that much anymore. I got the bigger storage version, and I'll tell you why that matters in just a second. In my iPhone preview video, I said I was looking forward to rocking the iPhone naked for once, because unlike stainless steel, the titanium will not smudge. Well, as we just saw in the unboxing, that's unfortunately not the case. The titanium is just as bad of a fingerprint magnet, so your boy will be slapping a case on it. So before we talk about some of the new features on this iPhone 15 Pro Max, I want to give a quick shout out to our channel partner Casekoo. They've been making some really solid cases lately that are just perfect, not only because they look really sleek, but they also have this really handy MagSafe stand that flips out so we can stop looking for stuff to prop up our phones all the time. And it has 48 magnets, so it makes the connection to the MagSafe accessories even stronger. Personally, I'm a big fan of the frosted cases, and I think this dark blue one looks really good on the blue titanium. But if you want even more protection, I suggest you look at these Cloud Cush cases. They come in all kinds of funky colors. They have the same awesome MagSafe ring, but they're more comfortable to hold for longer periods of time, hence the name Cloud Cush. If you want to check them out for yourself, there's a link in the description. Right, so apart from the titanium, what else is new in these Pro models? Well, first of all, there is of course the USB-C port, which in my opinion is the most important upgrade to this phone. I know some people might be a bit salty because they're deep into the Lightning port ecosystem, but let's be honest here, this was long overdue. The Lightning port is old technology with speeds that are just not acceptable anymore nowadays. With this new USB-C port, not only will we be able to use the same cable as we do for all of our other devices, it finally brings fast transfer speeds to the iPhone. The Pro models have had amazing cameras on board for some years now. They can even shoot very high quality ProRes video, but getting those files over to your computer takes hours using a Lightning cable. And no, you can't just simply airdrop it. We're talking about massive files here. So having a USB-C finally makes the video camera usable for me. I kind of wish they had put in a Thunderbolt port with 40 gigabits per second speeds, but hey, the 10 gigabits per second that we are getting are leaps better than that sluggish Lightning port, so the USB-C port also makes reverse charging possible, which means we can now finally charge our AirPods Pro using our iPhone, and that is pretty much the only reason I got the AirPods Pro 2 with USB-C charging, because I found myself wishing so many times that I could just top them up a little bit using my iPhone, and now we can, so that's great. It's a relatively slow charge, so don't expect to fast charge other phones with it, but for the AirPods, it's perfect. By the way, if you like the wallpaper I'm using, it's from my own custom wallpaper pack that I just launched this week. I'm super proud of it. We created one to match every Pro iPhone, as well as all the other iPhone colors, and matching wallpapers for the iPad and the Mac. Link in the description if you want to check them out. Another great benefit of USB-C is that we can now connect fast SSDs directly to the phone, which again, if you're a camera nerd like me, is a big deal. Because not only can you dump large files directly onto an SSD without the need of a computer, you can actually record straight onto the SSD without ever touching the internal storage, and that is really massive for those of us who buy this phone mainly for the camera. Speaking of cameras, the big difference this year between the Pro and the Pro Max is the fact that the Pro Max has that 5x zoom, and the Pro does not. I kind of wish this wasn't the case because I actually do prefer the smaller form factor on the Pro, but I guess the new camera system requires a little bit more space. The extra zoom, which is equivalent to a 120mm lens, is not achieved by a periscope lens, unlike the rumors suggested. It's actually a very clever system whereby light is bounced several times over by means of a prism, thereby extending the distance and the focal length. I don't know if this is entirely new technology, but I've never seen it used before and I think it's quite brilliant. Needless to say, I'll be testing this camera extensively for the full review, and if you haven't already, a sub to the channel would be much appreciated. A couple of smaller changes. We just talked about the titanium, which I personally really like. It looks great and it's also a little bit lighter, but the design also has these more rounded edges, which feels much nicer in the hand. The glass on the back also looks great. It kind of has this frosted look to it, but more importantly, it's supposed to be much easier and cheaper to repair when it does break, which is really great. Another feature that's actually new to the iPhone and one of my personal favorite quality of life changes is the fact that the mute switch has been replaced by an action button. I love using the action button on my Apple Watch Ultra. I have it programmed to start my favorite workout. The action button on the Pro Max also lets you choose what you want to do with it. There's a couple of options preset in the menu system, which for some reason looks way swankier than the rest of the menus. I will definitely be making this my camera button. Anything that helps me capture those fleeting moments faster, I'll take it. But even if the presets menu doesn't have the action you'd like to see, no worries, because you can also trigger a shortcut, which means you can program the button to do pretty much anything you want. I will do a tips and tricks videos very soon where I will dive a little deeper into some of the cool stuff this phone can do, so definitely turn on your channel notifications if you want to keep track of those vids. And lastly, of course, let's not forget about the new A17 Pro chip, which is exclusive to the Pro models and which allows for things like higher speed USB, but it will also be the driving force behind all that computer power needed for those AAA games Apple was talking about during the keynote. Apple has never been that big on gaming, apart from maybe Apple Arcade, but given the time they spent telling us how great gaming will be on the iPhone Pro models has made me curious, and I can't wait to see some nice titles like Assassin's Creed appear for the iPhone. And since you can hook up the iPhone to a TV or a monitor now using the USB-C, imagine hooking it up to your hotel TV room, connecting a controller, and playing Assassin's Creed on the big screen from your bed. We are basically carrying a mini console in our pockets, and that's pretty awesome. Of course, there's much more to unpack here, so be sure to tune in again for my full reviews. If you enjoyed the video, please give it one of these, it really does help. Thank you so much for watching, and stick around for some links to videos you might also want to watch.